we are here with the latest deal in the world of sports, and it involves a mashup of most valuable promotions. Of course, the promotional and fighting company founded by Jake Paul and Nakisa Bidarian, as well as PFL, the Professional Fighters League. John, great to have you back on the program as well. You now are all partners, combining forces. Why?
Yeah, I think there's like a massive gap in MMA right now. It feels like the culture is different, and there's just so much space to take over. We've proven that with our partnerships with Netflix and putting on the Rousey-Carano fight, and the demand that's there for our events and the events that we put on a consistent basis. And fighters are being treated unfairly in other organizations. I'm sure people know like who I'm talking about, but we've always had the ethos of fighter first, and so giving them the best place, the best destination, making sure that they're paid appropriately and have all the benefits and can still gain the same amount of viewership from the events that we put on. It's just another home that is needed. It's very badly needed. So there's a problem and a solution, and that's us, and that's really all entrepreneurship comes down to, is fixing problems.
Give me a sense, though, of how that structure is going to look overall. And I know, John, we've talked a little bit about also this idea of fighters first and a more, I guess, sort of equitable sharing relative to what the UFC and some of the other leagues do. Does it change materially from what PFL had already been doing?
I think this supercharges the PFL in any number of ways, and I've still been at the PFL for a little less than a year, but it was almost as soon as I joined that I really started to pay attention to what MVP was doing and the attention that they were able to grab. Initially, I was focused on their boxing events, but whether Jake was fighting, which of course was a huge global blockbuster event, or whether just promoting, the level of attention that they were giving their athletes was something that I felt was really admirable. So for the PFL, we have better fighters than the average fan realizes. So this is a way for us to shine a spotlight on them and provide a bigger platform at scale. And also the idea here is that combat sports is more than just any one discipline. So being able to be one company that can offer athletes multiple ways to earn a living. If they want to box, they can box. If they want to fight in mixed martial arts, they can do that style. I think it's going to give us a huge advantage. So this really is a combination where I think for the PFL, MVP solves what we couldn't easily solve on our own, and I think vice versa.
I think building off of what he just said there, Nakisa, is what, you have what they needed. And so tell me why this was the right move for MVP. You guys put on your first MMA match in May, and was it from the success of that? But you had said at the time, we're going to do more in MMA. But was it the success of that drove you to the PFL, or what was it that made this the right partnership?
Look, we started this company 5 years ago, and we've been disruptors in the boxing landscape and the content consumption landscape. Brought the first professional live sporting event to Netflix. When we decided to do MMA, I've always said if it was successful, we're going to do more. And what did more look like? Well, more now looks like that we have the benefit of world-class infrastructure, world-class fighters, and the leadership of John Martin as our CEO of the overall platform to go after this opportunity. In the history of sports, you'd be hard to find where there's a strong endemic brand like the UFC and a newcomer to show up and put on an event at the scale, at the engagement, and at the viewership level that we did. So it's clear there's opportunity to create a second major brand in this sport. And with what PFL has and what MVP has, that's going to be us.
Jake, you had mentioned how fighters, are being treated unfairly in other companies. And one of the things Nakisa and I had talked about before we went on air was how proud you are of Amanda Serrano and the career that she's built and what you guys were able to do together there. So tell me about, what you're hoping to accomplish with other fighters, how you use your platform as a global superstar. You want them to become global superstars as well. How do you do that?
Yeah, I think it's just storytelling, and that's like what I've always been best at since my early days. And even just Team 10, the first company that I created, and creating 30 influencers that were the biggest on the internet, and essentially doing the same thing now in the boxing and MMA world, is building other personalities up and other talent up around me. And Amanda Serrano was a perfect example of that, where she was getting paid, $1,000, $5,000 a fight. And she's one of the best fighters in the world. And so really all I did was shine a spotlight on her that she, deserved but didn't have. And the rest is history. And, we told her, you're going to be on billboards, you're going to be a movie star and all
be a millionaire pretty quickly.
Millionaire. And she just laughed because she didn't believe it, because she had been treated so, unfairly for decades in the sport of boxing. And it seems like so simple, but yeah, what I did is come in with my hundreds of millions of followers and just told her story to them, and everyone, fell in love with her. And then she's, headlining on Netflix. So just replicating that model and scaling it out is really like what we're doing here.
Can you share kind of what kind of share fighters will get out of this combined MVP PFL?
What do you mean, like
in terms of revenue share?
In terms of revenue share.
The focus has always been to at least provide 50% of revenue to athletes, right? So when we look at the traditional ball and stick sports that achieve those types of revenue share metrics for the athletes, all of those entities have created massive amounts of enterprise value. So Jake and I's belief from day one, the first day I met him in 2019, I walked into his house. I actually didn't know who he was prior to the meeting being set up.
You didn't know who he was?
I did not.
Oh, really?
I did not. And
Lived under a rock.
and he said, I want to be a fighter, I want to be an actor, I want to be a rapper, I want to be a content creator, I want to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's a lot of things. He goes, but most importantly, I want to start a fighters union.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure fighters get paid well.
Yeah.
We're the talent, we're the IP, we deserve fair share.
Yeah.
And if you look at other sports, when athletes get fair share, they're more invested, they're more committed, the product is better, and there's total cohesion.
Well, I'm curious, Jake. I mean, where are you all going to be in this whole mix? Are you going to be more behind the scenes, or are we going to see you in the ring, in the cage, going forward with this new league frequently? I mean, you kind of teased an MMA fight with this merger announcement.
Yeah, both behind the scenes on the business side of things, especially as it pertains to marketing and being a voice and promotion of all of our fighters. But that it's kind of this like flywheel, because also when I fight, it's some of the most viewed fights ever, and so we can uplift our fighters on the undercard. And that's actually what happened with Amanda Serrano. Is that at first we started putting her as like the co-main event on my fights to build her up. So it's this flywheel where when I fight, it's actually boosting the whole, company's enterprise value. And
you have the star power. And just be clear before we go anywhere. Are you able to fight now? I mean, your jaw and everything back. I mean, physically, are you ready to get back?
Yeah, I mean, not currently, but in the next couple of months, I'll be cleared for sparring. Okay. Yeah, so the jaw is like still healing, but just gonna hopefully get back in there later this year. We have negotiations to work through potentially next year, and then wanting to do MMA. I have a wrestling background, Division I. When I see these MMA fighters wrestling, I'm actually embarrassed for them. They wouldn't last a minute in Ohio Division I high school wrestling. Yeah. So excited to go into MMA and showcase my skills there next year.
Jake, I'm curious, what you were saying there is putting them on the same cards as the fights that you're on obviously drives a lot of attention. But for other fighters who can't fight at the same, I mean, you can't fight all the time, right? So what's the plan for those fights and to drive more attention on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, it goes back to storytelling and me being a promoter and just, saying to my audience, like, this is the fight that's happening. This is why you should care. This is a world championship fighter. This is her story. This is what she's fighting for, his or her story. It's no different than when Serrano and Katie Taylor, fought on Netflix, and just me being there as a promoter, saying this is going to be one of the greatest trilogies of all time for people to watch. And so, people can't buy a product if they don't know about it. And so, essentially, I'm just bringing awareness to these fights, and I'm the best in the world at that.
John, for you in the PFL, what are you most looking forward to working with MVP and, like Jake mentioned, his following and all of that? And how do you think it's going to change your business? How is it going to change having MMA and boxing under one roof?
I think, just to echo what I said a little bit earlier. You know, Jake is, I referred to him yesterday as a unicorn because he's an athlete, he's talent, he's a promoter, he's an influencer, and he's got the biggest megaphone that anybody could ever ask for in terms of a promotion. That's life-changing for a promotion like the Professional Fighters League. And I really believe we have an event tonight at the UBS Arena on Long Island, and we're going to feature what I believe are two of the best fighters in the world in our main event with Usman Nurmagomedov, who's 21-0, and on the co-main event with Dakota Ditchva, who's 15-0. To make them, you know, or other fighters of that caliber, household names, stars, where they can walk around, everybody will know who they are. That's difficult for an organization like the Professional Fighters League. We have better fighters and better product than our brand represents currently. And some of that is through distribution, which we're going to work really hard to fix that. And I think it's going to offer our promotion and our athletes opportunities that, like I said, we were trying to get there on our own, but this is going to dramatically accelerate the pace of that.
Well, I am curious about that. I mean, so you have 885, a couple of Nighthead affiliates. I mean, what is kind of the ownership structure right now, kind of split between the MVP as it was prior to this week and PFL?
Well, we're not sharing the overall structure, but Jake and I will continue to be the largest shareholders in the
Would you be
entity.
willing to disclose the terms of the deal in terms of financially?
I would say it puts
$5.
puts us clearly as the #2 platform within the combat sports space.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a merger, and the thing, since you mentioned 885 and Nighthead, you know, they've been incredible investors for us at PFL, and they are in this enthusiastically and have supported me in my desire to merge with them from the day one.
Talk to me about media rights as well. You know, you had on one hand you had the ESPN, on the other hand you had Netflix, which of course. And what is the Netflix commitment to this? Is that, I mean, are they committed longer term to what you do?
We have a long-term relationship with them that we haven't disclosed the terms of, but we've put on 4 events with Netflix.
So you think they're serious about a commitment to not just
I mean, they're serious in commitment to sports. They're serious in their
yeah.
commitment to MVP. Right? We brought professional sports to Netflix. The first ever professional sporting event was Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. And we look forward to meeting with them in short order and figuring out more events to do together.
So with the merged company, you have between the hodgepodge of deals, ESPN, Netflix, Sky. I think I'm forgetting a couple of others. Is the idea?
Those are the 3 MVP core partners.
Those are the 3 core
PFL
partners.
has 40+ partners internationally as well.
Is the idea to keep that fragmentation, or maybe are you looking for one sort of gigantic umbrella media deal?
I think when we think about the brand architecture and the different athletes and how they service each of those, we'll figure out what's the right distribution.
Nakisa, when you're looking at a measure of success in the next 5 years, do you believe it's market share, profitability, or changing the economics for fighters that you'll look at and say, we really did what we set out to do?
Success #1 is fighter happiness, right? Fighters recognizing, like they do with MVPW, that we've changed their lives for the better, and there's many different ways of measuring that, but that starts with how we position them. And positioning leads to then platform, and platform leads to push, which comes from him.
Well, that's what I'm curious. So the happiness is more than just the money they're getting paid in the ring.
Of course.
I mean, there's a reason why Jake Paul is here. I mean, he brings more than just, you know, what happens inside the ring, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's as small as how did you post me? How many times did you post me?
Right.
What did you say about me? What picture of? Did we pay attention to every single detail in helping you build your brand? Because end of the day, your individual IP is what's really helping MVP monetize its platform.
Another thing that was just announced was a strategic alliance with Matchroom Boxing in terms of to grow women's boxing. We talked a little bit about this, and Jake, you talked a little bit about what you've done with Amanda Serrano and how she was treated unfairly. She didn't think she was going to be able to make millions of dollars. Do you think that's just the plight for a women's boxing right now, or tell me about your investment into the sport?
You know, it was the play, and it was, you know, how women expected to be treated in the sport, and they weren't even motivated. I think we've even brought back older women fighters who are like, wow, everyone's making millions of dollars now. I want to get back into it, because at the time they were not making much money at all, and so we've completely changed the whole entire game of women's boxing, and have been able to procure the largest paydays for so many of the women. Time and time again, it wasn't just one time or here or there. It's the whole entire sport has changed, and the pay levels are at such a higher level now. And yeah, it's directly from what we started with Amanda Serrano and believing in women's boxing and arguing that 90% of women's fights are more entertaining than Floyd Mayweather's fights. There's just so much more action.
Yeah.
And like, I truly believe that. It's like, I say it as like a joke, but it's like not a joke. Like, I'll be sitting, ringside watching these girls fight, and I'm like, oh, like every 10 seconds just screaming, because women have higher pain tolerance. They endure more pain. And just keep on fighting. So I'm just saying, there's just facts to back this. But yeah, we've changed the landscape, and now everyone's getting paid more.
Yeah, Nakisa, tell us a little bit about the strategic alliance with Matchroom.
Listen, it comes back to, we've had conviction in women's boxing unlike any other combat sports platform, and that includes UFC. Ronda Rousey made her debut in MMA, even though Dana White was very clear he didn't want to have women's MMA at the time. So that was Lorenzo Fertitta, who owned the UFC, who brought women's MMA to the sport. From day one, Jake and I had 3 priorities: being fighter first, focusing on Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and giving a platform to women. In that positioning, the only person who's come close to that over the past 10 years is Eddie Hearn. To his credit, he has made some level of investment in women's boxing and had success in it. So going forward, we will have the opportunity to work with his fighters to give them the platform that MVP has.
Wait, so Eddie Hearn, is he going to be kind of a partner in all this, or is he still going to be your rival?
He's both, always, right? But I can tell you, as soon as we did this deal, his text to Jake and I was, let's do more.
I have to address the elephant in the room, because I think both you and Eddie Hearn, and I don't want to speak for Jake and John, there is sort of a competition with Dana White and UFC. And I am curious as to how you're positioning this new MVP up against that. I mean, they've got, obviously, the big backing with TKO, the big deal with Paramount, and all that. So you're going up against a force in terms of, from a business perspective, and probably in a lot of other ways as well. Are you staring him down head on? And are we making too much of that?
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
It's war as far as I'm concerned. We're here to make MMA great again.
Yeah.
And there's so many things going on behind the scenes, back and forth. Mostly them attacking us, manipulative things. I can't even be in my own brother's WWE matches because TKO has blocked it. They don't want me to get any publicity from the WWE.
Yeah.
So there's so many things going on behind the scenes. It's war, and it's only going to get crazier. But it's Coke versus Pepsi. It's Nike versus Adidas. This is exciting. And we're 5 years in with this new relationship. They're 30 years in. So we're the new young, hungry kids on the block. Dana White, was at a press conference yesterday, didn't even know who was fighting or what he was talking about, just berating a reporter. They're old. They're worn out. They're public. They're like, hey, we did this.
Yeah.
And we're coming to eat their lunch. And they should be scared, and they are scared. That's why they're doing these tactical moves behind the scenes. And this is beautiful. This is capitalism. This is entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And this is the game of life. So it's very exciting.
I'd be remiss in not pointing out, though, there have been a lot of other challengers to the UFC Empire, Pride, and Strikeforce, and a few others I'm forgetting. And we've seen
UFC bought Pride.
Yeah.
UFC bought Strikeforce.
Yeah.
UFC.
Well, what's your goal? Is your goal to stay independent? Is your goal to become public? I mean, what's from a business perspective? What do you want MVP?
I
as
think
a
we're
business
just
structure
getting
to be?
started. We've been in business for 5 years.
Yeah.
We've never lost $1, which is very rare in sports.
Yeah.
Right. And now we have the benefit of who I believe to be the best CEO in combat sports, in John Martin leading the charge.
Yeah.
We have amazing investors in 885 and Nighthead, who own some of the most prolific sports assets in the world. And he's 29 years old, right?
Yeah.
And he's hungry, and he's looking to go after it, as you just heard. And there's a need for change. As I said, for us to come in and put on an event that we did, and for fans to consume it at the level that they did, when has that ever happened? The NFL competitors that pop up, they do 5%. 10% of the viewership. It's a very rare occurrence. And the benefit is we're a private entity. We plan to stay private for a long period of time, and we can have financial flexibility that you really can't as a public entity. In many ways, I wish the UFC would show up tomorrow and say, we're increasing fighter pay to 50%. But guess what? They can't do that. That will crush their margins, which will crush their enterprise value, which will crush their personal net worth. We have the ability to be aggressive in how we structure our deals and go after the best talent in the world.
I mean, we've had Dana White on this program. We've asked him specifically about MVP, as you know, specifically about PFL. His words were polite, though not necessarily kind.
I, by the way, think they're phenomenal. They're the best organization in the world.
No one can argue with their business.
Yes.
You know, you can quibble with Dana White on a lot of things, a lot of levels, on personality. You can quibble with Jake Paul a lot on personality as well. But we're talking about how you build a business and who actually has the moxie to pull it off. And maybe it does become what you saying, Jake, which is like a Coke versus Pepsi, where you can have two giants sort of coexist, or does it end up being a winner take all?
Yeah, I guess time will tell. But I think what we've already proven and what combat sports has proven and boxing in general, just over the past century, is that there's an appetite for fights and consistency, and the true fight fans cross over from loving boxing to MMA. And if there was good fights on every weekend, I would be watching them. And so there's so much room. There's so many NBA games. There's the NFL is
leagues.
Thursday, Sunday, Monday, sometimes Saturdays now. Like, they're popping up new days all the time, and I'm there watching them. So there's so much room and space for us to create tons of fights.
John, I think that's like a great part for you to step in here is it really even a question? Does it have to be a question? Does it have to be a topic of needing to be number two, having to push UFC? Or is it just focus on doing what you're doing and potentially change the entire market? Like Nakisa was saying, if everyone raised fighters' pay, maybe that's great for everyone in the sport.
I think it's a little bit of everything that you just said. In other words, when you look at, before I decided to come to PFL, I convinced myself that UFC was not going to be a winner-take-all. The world is too big a place. There's too many fight fans. Fighting as a sport is primal. It really has no borders. As Jake said, if you're a fan, you could be watching two Africans fight from the continent of Africa and be equally as enthusiastic in that as you would if it was, fight somewhere else. I think that it provides a tremendous space and opportunity for us to bring great events. And like I said, it could be MMA, it could be boxing, we could do hybrid events. And it's really just about finding great athletes, finding great fighters, putting on great events, and delighting the fans. I think there's a huge amount of space, but scale matters. It's always mattered in the businesses that I came from. I was a builder. I built big businesses. I scaled existing big businesses. And this combination is going to give us scale to move faster, and speed matters.
Right, absolutely. And obviously with this, Jake, you're doing something that I don't know if you did this when you set out, when you created MVP, when you created it, people kind of had this idea that you're an influencer and this isn't real boxing. And now you're acquiring one of the biggest players in mixed martial arts in this game. Do you think you changed the perception of what people think you set out to do here?
I don't know. Like, I don't really care. Like, I think, people always have some sort of opinion, and I just prove with my actions and words. I do definitely talk a lot of smack, but I just don't really care. Like, we're doing it regardless of what they think. So I would say the track record proves that I've made more of an impact in the sport of boxing than any boxer that's alive today. And no one could argue that. I could sit there and argue.
True.
You shrug your shoulders.
I would quibble with that a little bit.
Who would you say that?
More than Tyson? You said alive today?
Outside of Tyson, outside the ring?
You said
outside the ring.
Oh, you're talking about outside the ring. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the sport of boxing. Oh, okay.
Not in the ring, outside the ring. Actually helping fighters.
Romaine, who do you think has made a larger impact than Jake outside of the ring for other fighters?
For other fighters, I don't know. I mean, I can't quibble with that. I thought you were talking about in terms of boxing as a sport.
Inside the ring,
and look, I don't take anything away from Jake. We all know that he brings a lot of attention to the things, and the smack talk is a big part of boxing.
It's way more than attention.
Explain that.
It's actual change. and me grinding on business calls and working with fighters and teaching them about branding and putting my time, effort, and energy into other people, hiring employees, teaching them the ways and the things that I know and the skills that I have, business calls on a consistent basis. The attention and the posting is actually such a minimal part.
That's the easy part.
That's the easy part. So there's so much more.
Bringing the Gen Alpha and the Gen Z to it all, like you said, right? Because it was lost to that generation, I feel, for a
100%.
while.
Yeah.
And that brings in new people to the sport, meaning competitors into the sport that maybe would have been a little bit turned off by maybe the previous structures of some of these deals?
Can you say that
New
again?
competitors against us?
No, new fighters. I mean,
I
fighters.
think he said it really
Sorry,
well.
yeah.
Like if we look at where we focused, which is big, massive events where we're the clear leader.
Yeah.
And then if you look at women's boxing, it's re-energized I would say the more mature fighters that had left the sport to come back because they hadn't seen opportunity and push this way. And it's energized young athletes to say, wow, there's a real path to a career here versus one-offs.